Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's video, I've got my annual mineral sunscreen testing roundup for you. I've been working on this video for months and months and months. I've tested 15 sunscreens this year to add to the almost 300 mineral sunscreens that I've tested over the course of the past 12 years. I always do this video in May in honor of Skin Cancer Awareness Month because of course skin cancer is a deadly cancer, and using sunscreen daily can actually reduce your risk of getting melanoma by 50%. The other great thing about sunscreen is that it is the #1 anti-aging skincare that we can use because the rays of the sun cause 90% of the aging we see on our skin. And if you think because you're sitting in your house or in your car or it's a cloudy day that those aging UVA rays are not hitting your skin and aging you, they come through windows, they come through clouds, and so you're not protected even when you think you are. So starting a habit of wearing sunscreen every day is great for your skin, it's great for your overall health. And so this video is all about helping people to find the perfect sunscreen for them. These are from all different price points. There's drugstore in here, there's tinted, there's clean in here. These are a lot of brand new sunscreens this year because, you know, having reviewed almost 300 so far, there's not enough left that I haven't looked at already. So if you watch this video and the sunscreen that you were hoping to see isn't in here, I have most likely covered it in one of my other videos. And I'll put a link to my sunscreen testing playlist for you right up here so you can check them all out. I also have a blog post with most of them. I am having it updated right now, and I'll link the blog post in the description box below the video. So if you enjoy my yearly sunscreen testing video, go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Links for all the sunscreens that I'm going to mention today will be in the description box below the video. Some of them will be here on the screen. The reason I test mineral sunscreens in this video is because the standard American chemical sunscreens tend to irritate my skin, but mineral sunscreens are so hard to formulate. A lot of times they leave a white cast, they're greasy, they're super shiny. And so of course I'm looking for a sunscreen that doesn't do any of those naughty things. I'm also looking for a sunscreen that looks great on my skin on its own, and I'm looking for a sunscreen that also wears well under makeup. So yes, it is a tall order. I'm 63 years old. I have combo skin. It is getting drier the older I get. You'll see me in this video applying 1/4 teaspoon of the sunscreen for my face and neck. That's because sunscreen is dose dependent, so you need that much to get the SPF number on the label. People in general just don't wear sunscreen every day, and they don't wear enough. In general, people wear about 1/8 of the amount that they should. So from an SPF 50, they're getting maybe an SPF of 6 out of it. There's no set amount that's exactly right for everyone. The general consensus now is that it's between 1/4 teaspoon for your face and neck up to 1/2 teaspoon for your face and neck. Last two things before we start into it. When I try it with makeup, I've used the same foundation over each one, which this year is Maybelline Superstay Lumi Matte. It's really long wearing on my skin. It lasts a solid 10 hours over my current Holy Grail sunscreen, which is the Healthy Skin Labs Protect SPF 50. And I'm looking for anything in this year's group of sunscreens to match or beat the performance I get out of these two together. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with the sunscreens that give a strong white cast, because for me, you know, a sunscreen with a white cast is not gonna cut it. So the first one in this category is gonna be Freaks of Nature Peak Performance Sunscreen. This is an SPF 50. It retails for $38 for 1.7 ounces. That's $22.35 per ounce. It's 18.75% zinc oxide, 4.75% titanium dioxide. This one is water resistant to 80 minutes. It's a white cream that feels heavy and greasy going on. I tried to do a little experiment where instead of putting it all on at once, a lot of people over the years have said, you know, if you put that on in smaller layers, it won't give you the white cast. So I put this on in 2 separate layers. The first layer gave a fairly strong white cast. By the time I got the second layer on, very strong white cast. Clings to hair, is not good around the hairline, gets all tangled up in your eyebrows, and it just doesn't rub in very well. With all the sunscreens, I do give them 20 minutes to dry back and set to see if the white cast will settle in or if the greasy feeling will go away. This one, after 20 minutes, it didn't change at all. So as a standalone sunscreen, I gave this 0 out of 5 stars, but for other people like surfers, athletes, maybe you would like it. All right, next up is a new one from Shiseido. This is Shiseido Urban Environment Mineral Clear SPF 50. It retails for $39 for 1 ounce. That's $39 per ounce. It's 17.2% zinc oxide, 4.5% titanium dioxide. This is water resistant to 40 minutes. This is considered an upgrade from the previous version of this, which was an SPF 42. This uses a newer zinc oxide technology that is supposed to transform from sheer to clear during application. This is a very runny white liquid. It feels lightweight and slippery, like very elegant skincare going on. I actually love the feel of this one when I'm putting it on. It does leave a slight white cast, and it does rub in unevenly, and it feels fairly sticky and greasy. After 20 minutes, the white cast does settle in a little bit, but not enough for me. Plus, it settles into all my wrinkles, including my neck wrinkles. It does still feel a little bit tacky and heavy even after an hour. For me, it wasn't wearable on its own. I didn't try it under makeup. So this one gets a 0 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen. Next up is Project Reef Mineral Sunscreen. This one is an SPF 50. It's $26 for 3.4 ounces, $7.64 an ounce, one of the least expensive. It's 19.6% non-nano zinc oxide and contains chemical booster butyl salicylate. This is water resistant to 80 minutes. Of course, it being Project Reef, it would lead you to believe that it is a reef-safe sunscreen, but butyl salicylate, the sunscreen booster in here, is actually damaging to reefs. It does cause long-lasting harm to marine ecosystems. A lot of companies say, oh, 100% mineral, but really they're not. A lot of the companies are putting in these SPF boosters, which are technically a chemical sunscreen ingredient. So there are 3 that I'll mention in this video. The first one is butyl salicylate. One related to that is tridecyl salicylate. And then there's a new one this year that came up called ethyl hexyl methoxycrylene. And that one's in a couple of these. You know, I'm not sure how into the weeds you guys like to get on this stuff. You know, I love to geek out about it, but these things really just like grind my gears. This is a white thick cream that feels thick and greasy going on like butter. It leaves a strong white cast on the skin, and it's very, very shiny. After 20 minutes, it stays exactly the same, which is to say white, greasy, shiny, plus it settles into neck wrinkles. So can't really recommend this one, mainly because of the white cast that it leaves on me. But if I was, going into it thinking, oh wow, going on vacation, taking it because of the reef, maybe take something else like Freaks of Nature, which is non-nano zinc oxide. So this next category, there's 2 sunscreens in it, and these are ones that leave a very dark orange cast. So the first one in this category is this Aven Multi-Defense Fluid SPF 50. It retails for $38 for 1.3 ounces, which makes it 29.23 cents per ounce. It's 12% zinc oxide. It has chemical booster, tridecyl salicylate, and it's water resistant to 40 minutes. This is a tinted runny liquid that feels like a lightweight lotion. It rubs in easily, but it only comes in 1 shade, which is way too warm and too dark for me, and it goes on very splotchy and very unevenly. I can see it working for people with darker skin tones, but I'm not sure about like the orange cast, if you would still be able to see it. But aside from the color, the other reason that I can't recommend this one is because it never dries back. After 20 minutes, it is just coming off on everything. So this one got a 0 out of 5 for me as a standalone sunscreen. All right, next up is La Roche-Posay's new Anthelios Tinted Mineral Light Fluid Sunscreen SPF 40. It's $42.99 for 1.7 ounces, making it $25.28 per ounce. It's 8% zinc oxide, 17% titanium dioxide, and contains chemical booster butyl salicylate. It's water resistant to 40 minutes, and it comes in 3 shades, of which this is the lightest. This is a lightweight, runny liquid that feels great going on, but the shade is just so dark and orange on me. And you may be asking, like, why did she even try this one? You know this is going to be too dark for you. Clearly, it's made for people with darker skin than you. And yes, I get that. If you have darker skin, this could be a beautiful sunscreen on you, and I'm so glad that they released this one, even though it's not necessarily for me. And I mean, clearly I look ridiculous in it, but you know, I just wanted to put it on to show you what the shade is on it. This is another one that just grinds my gears, and I don't understand why La Roche-Posay can't make this formula in this shade. So this is the La Roche-Posay SPF 50 Tinted Mineral. This one is actually a shade that matches my skin tone. Like, I've reviewed it before and it's really good, but I never ever use it because this one doesn't contain zinc oxide. It only contains titanium dioxide. And unfortunately, titanium dioxide doesn't give you any coverage for half of the UVA spectrum. And you know, where UVA rays cause skin cancer and most of your skin's aging, I want my sunscreen to protect me from the entire UVA spectrum, not just half. But here they are making a very similar sunscreen, and it's got enough zinc oxide in there to give me some decent protection. So, you know, I'm just including this to say, L'Oreal, if you're listening, can you put some zinc oxide into this one? I've asked before. Okay. End of rant. All right, so we're moving into the next category, which is settles into all your wrinkles. So first in our wrinkle settling category is from Pure. This is their 4-in-1 skin tint SPF 50. It retails for $42 for 1 ounce, which makes it $42 an ounce. The most expensive sunscreen in this entire group, ounce for ounce. It's 12% zinc oxide. It does contain chemical booster, butyloctyl salicylate. It's water resistant to 80 minutes and it comes in 8 shades. So this one is kind of more of like a, you know, makeup sunscreen hybrid. If you use it just a tiny bit, again, not getting the sunscreen SPF 50 out of it, you can do that. It will probably look a lot better than the way I used it, but I'm testing it as a sunscreen. This is a runny tinted liquid. It is heavily pigmented sunscreen that feels pretty moisturizing going on and also lightweight. It's not sticky, but you do have to pay attention because the tint can be a little smeary or patchy if you don't blend it out perfectly. The shade is good and hides any white cast, but it does cling a little bit to face hair. It does bunch up around the edges, so it's not great around the hairline or in the eyebrows, but it immediately settles into every wrinkle on your face and your neck, so neck wrinkles are very visible once I put this on. And it comes off on everything. It does feel slightly drier after 20 minutes, but in that time I had already left fingerprints all over the house and it still felt very wet on the surface of my skin. So for me, I give this one a 0 out of 5 just because I could never wear it because of the settling in the neck wrinkles. All right, next up is going to be Axis Y Complete No Stress Physical Sunscreen SPF 50+, PA++++. The SPF number is for UVB rays, the PA number is for UVA rays, 4 pluses is the highest UVA rating. This retails for $36 for 1.69 ounces. That makes it $21.30 an ounce. It's 17% zinc oxide. It contains sunscreen booster, butyloctyl salicylate. It's vegan, cruelty-free, and fragrance-free. This is a white medium weight lotion that feels nice going on but has a very strong white cast. It sticks to hair and it immediately settles into every wrinkle, especially neck wrinkles. This is not wearable on its own for me. I give it a 0 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen. All right, next up is Nayali Anti-Aging Tinted Moisturizer SPF 50. It retails for $32 for 1.4 ounces, making it $22.85 per ounce. It's 18% zinc oxide, and it does contain chemical booster, butyloctyl salicylate. It's water resistant, but not sure how much, and it does come in 3 shades. This is a very pigmented, tinted, thick formula that goes on super streaky, so you have to really pay close attention when you're applying it. The tint is a little warm and dark for me. The application is just very uneven, especially around the edges and the hairline, doesn't play nicely with hair, and it just looks bad, and it settles into wrinkles, including neck wrinkles. So after 20 minutes of dry back, this one, like many of the other kind of greasy ones, it just doesn't dry back. It still feels heavy, it still feels greasy. When I touch it, it comes off on my fingers. And so this one gets a 0 out of 5 for me. All right, moving on to the next category, which is the overpowering smell I just couldn't take, and so they're unwearable for me. Next up is Runavat Brightening Mineral Sunscreen SPF 50+. This retails for $65 for 1.7 ounces. That makes it $38.23 per ounce. It's 12.3% zinc oxide. It does contain chemical booster, butyloctyl salicylate, and ethyl hexyl methoxycrylene. It's not water resistant. This is a runny tinted liquid. It feels like a lightweight oil going on, but does leave a slight white cast. The finish on this one is super shiny and greasy looking. This one smells like a combination of rotting bananas and lighter fluid. And no, it doesn't dissipate after 20 minutes. If somebody else could smell this and be like, that smells heavenly. Fragrances, scents, they're so personal. This one clings to face fur. It looks streaky. It doesn't dry back. It's super slippery. My face just felt wet, oily, greasy. My hair was sticking to it, and the smell. So for me, 0 out of 5, completely unwearable. Next up is this sunscreen from Clean & Kind. It's their face and body tallow sunscreen, SPF 50. It retails for $25.99 for 3.4 ounces, making it $7.64 an ounce. Tied for the least expensive sunscreen in this roundup. It's 25% zinc oxide. This is a fluffy white cream that feels like buttercream frosting going on the skin. It glides over the skin, but it does feel super greasy, and it does give a super shiny finish. It has surprisingly little white cast considering that it's got 25% zinc oxide in there. It smells like a candy necklace. The smell on this one isn't like bad per se, it's just so strong. Trying to cover up the tallow smell. It just is overly cloyingly sweet. Because it's so greasy, I found that my hair was really sticking to it. After 20 minutes of dry back, I felt like, wait, now it's looking really streaky and really spotty. And if I looked at it in my really up close mirror, I could see little tiny white specks all over my face. Not great for me, but if you have super dry skin, you love the whole tallow clean thing, then this could be a great sunscreen for you. All right, next category are sunscreens that are good to wear on their own, but they're not great under makeup. So the first one in this category is this tiny little guy from Kiehl's. It's their Mineral UV Serum SPF 50. It does come in a larger bottle than this. This is $22 for a half an ounce or $36 for 1.4 ounces. So it's either the most expensive one at $44 for this guy per ounce, or it's in the middle at $25 per ounce for the larger size. This is 15.35% zinc oxide. It's 2.66% titanium dioxide. It contains chemical booster ethyl hexyl methoxycrylene. This was a new one to me. I had only heard of butyloctyl salicylate and tridecyl salicylate before. Those two, depending on how much is in a formula, can really irritate my skin. The one that's in here has a lower irritancy rating. You can still call it mineral sunscreen, and all mineral sunscreen or 100% mineral sunscreen, even though it has these chemical boosters, and they can irritate your skin depending on how much is in there, and you would never know that they're in there unless you knew what to look for on the ingredient label, which is why I tell you here. So anyway, it's not water resistant. This is a white runny liquid that feels like an emollient skincare serum going on. Skin feels slightly tacky when first applied. It has surprisingly little white cast. After 20 minutes of dry back, this one still felt slightly tacky, but skin felt moisturized, not oily or greasy or sticky. It was giving me the slightest white cast, but I feel like I could wear it as a regular everyday sunscreen. I did go ahead and put makeup on over this one, and at first I thought it played really nicely with makeup. There was very little settling in wrinkles, and I thought the makeup overall looked really nice over this sunscreen. At the 4-hour check-in, I was already not loving it. It had started feeling drying a couple hours before, so maybe about 2 hours into wearing it. It looked fine from a distance. It was already starting to wear off on my nose and above my brows. It had started kicking up a few skin flakes on my forehead. At the 8-hour check-in, I thought it looked okay. It was fairly worn off all over, but kind of in an even way, not really in a patchy way. So I didn't think it looked terrible, but I did notice that it had been coming off under my nails all day long, and it was getting a little bit shiny, but also felt so very drying throughout the day that I really couldn't wait to wash my face. I really can't fully recommend it to people with dry skin. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 for a standalone sunscreen and 2 out of 5 for how it did with makeup. All right, next up is the Jones Road Everyday Sunscreen SPF 30. This product was sent to me by Jones Road. This is the only thing in here that I didn't purchase. This retails for $42 for 1.69 ounces, making it $24.85 per ounce. This is 15.9% zinc oxide. It does contain chemical booster, butyloctyl salicylate. It's not water resistant, and it comes in 5 shades. The shade I have it in here is called Sandy. This is a tinted sunscreen with a lotiony texture that rubs in easily, but feels slippery, wet, and a little bit oily going on the skin. The tint covers any white cast, it evens the skin tone a bit, but it doesn't look like a heavy, pigmented covering of makeup. After 20 minutes of dry back, I felt like this hadn't really dried back at all. It still felt fairly oily and wet on my skin, and it just wasn't sitting quite right on my skin. It looked like tiny speckles on my forehead, and it was still very shiny. So I did go ahead and try it with makeup, just mainly for the people with drier skin who are interested in it. And I felt like the shine, the luminosity did come through the foundation, so I did have to add setting powder over it. I felt like the makeup went on really well over it, and that overall, it looked really, really nice. At the 4-hour check-in, I thought it looked really good from a distance. It had very little settling into wrinkles, but it had started to wear off a little bit on my nose. At the 8-hour check-in, I thought it was very worn off, very shiny in my T-zone. For me, it had felt oily on my skin all day. Again, didn't dry back, so I felt like it might be shifting around a little bit. I wouldn't reach for it, but dry skin types might like it a lot, especially if it absorbs into your skin more. Like, it didn't settle in neck wrinkles. It didn't have a white cast. As a standalone sunscreen, I'd give it 3 out of 5. Under makeup, 3 out of 5. All right, next up is a new one from EltaMD using their transparent zinc, like we saw in the Shiseido product, also in the Kiehl's. This is EltaMD UV Skin Recovery SPF 50. Retails for $50 for 1.7 ounces. It's $29.41 per ounce. It's 12.9% zinc oxide. It does contain chemical booster, butyloctyl salicylate, and it's not water resistant. This is an off-white lotion with a slight tannish greenish tint. It looks white going on, but rubs in almost clear, leaving only the slightest white cast on me. It feels like a normal skincare lotion going on. It feels moisturizing, not tacky or sticky. I felt like it felt the exact same after dry back, which is to say that it wasn't tacky or greasy feeling, and it had a soft, luminous finish with the slightest white cast. I put makeup on over this one, and I was really wowed when I put the makeup on. Can I just say, EltaMD, you've outdone yourself on this one. Makeup goes on over this super beautifully. It looks smooth, it looks skin-like, it feels dry and set. I'm so happy with it. If it wears throughout the day like it's supposed to, I'll be thrilled. Foundation goes on over this so beautifully. It almost acts like a primer. There was minimal settling into wrinkles, and I just thought it looked great. At the 4-hour check-in, I thought it looked fine from a distance, but it was wearing off on my nose and between my eyebrows already, and it was looking a little bit shiny in my T-zone. At the 8-hour check-in, I was not as excited about it anymore. The foundation was very worn off everywhere, and it felt so drying throughout the day. And throughout the day, I thought my skin looked very textured every time I saw myself, and it was modeled on my forehead and giving polka dot pores everywhere else. So it kind of crashed and burned after the initial wow factor. As a standalone sunscreen, I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 because it was so drying throughout the day. With makeup, 3 out of 5 because it didn't look terrible at the end of the day, but it didn't look great either. All right, these are the last 2 sunscreens in this video, and they're kind of a toss-up. I gotta say, I don't have a clear winner this year. First one I wanna talk about is from Tower 28. This is their SOS Fade Guard SPF 30 sunscreen. It retails for $32 for 1.69 ounces, making it $18.93 per ounce. It's 12.5% zinc oxide. It does contain butyl salicylate. It's water resistant to 40 minutes, and it comes in 1 shade. This is a tinted lotion that glides over the skin and rubs in super easily. The tint, I would say, doesn't really give any coverage. It's not super heavily pigmented, so it looks very natural on the skin. The tint is mainly there to just hide any white cast, which it does very effectively. This feels very much like skincare going on, and it just looks like your skin. It does have a little bit of tackiness to it when first applied, but it doesn't feel heavy or greasy or oily or wet. The foundation goes on over it really nicely, just like it normally would. It did settle into wrinkles the normal amount that this foundation does with my Holy Grail sunscreen, which is to say not much, but a little bit in the smile lines. I definitely get settling there. At the 4-hour check-in with the makeup, I thought the makeup still looked good with only a little bit of wearing off on my chin, above my eyebrows, and on the bottom part of my nose, but it wasn't getting shiny, so that was good. At the 8-hour check-in, I thought it was very worn off on my nose, my chin, my cheeks, above my eyebrows. It was shiny in my T-zone. It was giving me speckly polka dot pores on my cheeks and on my chin, so this definitely shortens the wear of foundation, but it didn't feel drying to wear throughout the day. So as a standalone sunscreen, I would give this one a 4 out of 5. As a sunscreen to wear under makeup, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. All right, the last sunscreen in this year's video is from CeraVe. It's a brand new sunscreen called Invisible Mineral Sunscreen. It's an SPF 50, retails for $16.99 for 1.62 ounces. That makes it $10.48 an ounce. It's 15.35% zinc oxide, 2.66% titanium dioxide. It contains chemical booster, ethyl hexyl methoxycrylene. Are you noticing that the formula is very similar to the Kiehl's? I was like, wait a minute, that's the same sunscreen. It's not exactly the same sunscreen. Both these brands are made by L'Oreal, so you know L'Oreal does this a lot. They'll make one formula, they tweak it a little bit, put it under one labeling at one price, put it under another labeling at another price. Like, look at the similarities even in the packaging. Like, even the colors are the same. It always bugs me when they have things that are virtually the same, but one's way more expensive than the other. The Kiehl's is between $44 and $25 per ounce. The CeraVe, $10.48 per ounce. So goodbye, Kiehl's. Like all CeraVe products, this does contain ceramides. It also contains niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. This is a very light green tinted runny lotion. It rubs in very easily. It does leave a very, very minimal white cast. It feels like a lightweight emollient skincare lotion going on. It does have a fairly shiny finish though, and it's good around hair, and it's not thick or greasy feeling. After 20 minutes, it dries back and doesn't feel sticky or heavy on the skin. There was no settling into wrinkles. On me, it is giving still the slightest white cast. I'm not sure in the summer that this will be something that I reach for like every day just because it is slightly white casty. But if your skin tone is slightly lighter than than mine to super pale, you can definitely wear this every day all year round. For people with medium to darker skin tones, you're probably still going to see a little bit of a white cast. Makeup goes on over this really well. The radiance does come through the makeup a little bit, but adding the foundation over it reduced the amount of settling in wrinkles that I would normally get. So that was awesome that it reduced the amount of foundation settling into my wrinkles. At the 4-hour check-in, I thought the makeup was still in place and looking good from a distance wear-wise. Up close, I thought it looked good, not fantastic. It was still mainly in place for most of my face, only showing very, very slight bits of wear. It still wasn't settling into wrinkles. At the 8-hour check-in, I could see from a distance that it was really worn off on my nose and my chin, but it was in place on my forehead and my cheeks. It wasn't doing anything super naughty like sliding around or getting super shiny or settling into wrinkles. But I gotta say, this one had felt a little bit drying around my chin at about the 8-hour mark. Not my whole face. I didn't feel like it really super dried out my skin, but I just did feel a little bit of drying in one area. You know, I know they tweaked the formulas a little bit. I didn't find this one to be as drying as the Kiehl's, but just be aware if you're a dry skin person. Not sure that you will absolutely love this. You know, CeraVe does make a tinted mineral that's super hydrating, and I think that one is great for people with dry skin. This one, better for more normal to combo to oily skin people. So for this one, because it does still leave that tiniest little bit of white cast, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 as a standalone sunscreen. And for under foundation, a 4 out of 5. So after testing this round of sunscreens, I didn't find a new holy grail. I found some pretty good sunscreens that, who knows, you may love one of these. If you've tried one and it has become your holy grail, I'd love to hear about that in the comments section below the video. I always like to leave you with my holy grails in case, you know, you were sitting here trying to find a sunscreen that you'll love. My current holy grail sunscreen is still the Healthy Skin Labs Protect SPF 50. This is an awesome sunscreen for dry skin people. It's also an awesome sunscreen for more oily skin people or combo or normal. It's super hydrating. This one is a purely mineral sunscreen, meaning it doesn't have any of the sunscreen boosters in it. It is a tinted mineral. It only comes in the one shade. It wears beautifully under makeup. It'll hydrate your skin all day. It is a little bit heavier and a little bit tacky, you know, kind of oily feeling, and it doesn't really dry and set. So I would compare this more to look and feel of the Tower 28, where the tint doesn't really give you too much coverage, but it hides the white cast, feels hydrating all day, but this just wears under makeup way better than the Tower 28, and it's an SPF 50 instead of an SPF 30. A very similar sunscreen to this one, ingredient-wise, is this one from Dermatology. This is their Physical Tinted Moisturizer SPF 44. They have almost identical sunscreen and ingredient list. This is also a tinted mineral, but this one is substantially less expensive than this one, and I do have a 20% ongoing code with Dermatology. It's Angie20 at checkout at Dermatology, and you can get this or anything at Dermatology for 20% off. It's an ongoing code forever. It's always in the info box with a link. If you're looking for something that's like a one and done, you don't have to put makeup on over it because the tint is perfect, but it feels nice and dry and set. If you want to put makeup on over it, you can, and it will look great all day. I can highly recommend the winner from my last year's video, which is the Kopari Bright as Day Sheer Mineral SPF 50. This is such a beautiful sunscreen on the skin. You put it on and it almost immediately dries back and sets. Feels great on the skin, doesn't feel drying. A very similar sunscreen to that, and a runner-up in last year's video was this one from Chromat. It's called Ray Reverse. It's their SPF 50. Put it on, it's tinted, you're dry and set, you're ready to go. It's a one and done. Use code Angie10 at Chromat for 10% off your entire order. And last but not least is a long-term favorite. This is the Australian Gold Botanical 50 Tinted Face Lotion. A lot of people ask me if this is was discontinued. It hasn't been discontinued. They're still making it. I believe they've changed the packaging again. It'll be like the third packaging change, so it might not even look like this anymore. This is a tinted mineral sunscreen. This is such a great sunscreen for like normal to oily skin people because it's so dry feeling. And if you have enlarged pores, it's so smoothing on your pores. This one comes in 3 shades, I think it is. All right, so that's it for this year's sunscreen roundup. Wow, I can't believe I'm done testing sunscreens for the year. I mean, it never actually ends. I will start testing next month sunscreens to go into next year's video. So that is it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful and informative. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out one of my other videos shown here.